Welcome to Newslaundry Chhota Hafta. For the full episode, subscribe because it is behind the paywall and only subscribers get access to uncut, complete content. Newslaundry Hafta is our weekly wrap of all that made the news, all that didn't, and all that should have and all that shouldn't have. We agree, we disagree, we critique, and occasionally we beat each other up. But it's all good fun. Subscribe. अंग्रेज अपना लगान और न्यूज़ लॉन्ड्री अपना हफ्ता कभी नहीं छोड़ते. Welcome to another episode of Hafta. I'm Abhindandan Sekhri, back after 2-week break when Manisha hosted the Hafta, and I'm sure it was a lot more calm and less interruptions at the time. But today we have two influencers
who haven't got anything.
Who have not got invited by Piyush Goyal or anyone. So I want to know, how do they describe themselves? You know, because this is a relatively new word. And I know one of them is a professor. So this is a side gig. But the other person has been a news professional on and off camera. He has been a journalist, an anchor, a reporter, an executive, on radio. And this week, influencers took all sorts of political positions, or didn't take political positions, but clearly were politically involved in the larger political game. But these two missed out. Before I introduce who they are, I would just like to acknowledge that the poll is out because there was much discussion about how we should deal with the feedback that comes to us, because the number of letters that come from your suggestions, your critique, your encouragement, your appreciation are going into like 30-40. So it seems the overwhelming majority of you wanted to pick 6 emails every week and read only those and not try to read all of them. I must admit I was a little disappointed because I liked the concept of dedicating one only to letters, because I just thought that the emails, the conversations that they throw up are interesting. Otherwise, there is a very, kind of one-dimensional view that we get on the Hafta panel. But clearly I'm in the minority. But nevertheless, because it's my show, I will still do that once a year.
Maybe you can do a New Year episode.
We can
just
collect
be letters.
50-60 emails, and we can, because
50-60 in one episode.
what else will you do now if you're only doing it once a year? Or maybe 30-40, because that day we did 40 in one episode, which was we did 40 in one episode.
We can do a New Year special.
So once a year, because if we only do 6 every episode, a lot of views get left out, and then it's up to, also poor Priyali gets another additional job of having to read all the letters and selecting 6, as does our overworked producers. So we will only be reading 6 until that once a year, when we will take like 30 or 40 or 50. So joining me on the Hafta today in the studio is our own Ghar Ke Dal, which is Raman Kirpal.
Hi.
And Manisha Pande.
Ghar Ke Dal. Hi. I'm Ghar Ki Murgi.
Ghar Ki Murgi.
Dal barabar.
Right. And joining us on the phone line and in person are the two influencers I mentioned. First, let me introduce the lady joining us on the phone line on Zoom, Madri Kakoti. Hi, Madri.
Hi.
Our audience may know you as Dr Medusa. You're a satirist and you work on Twitter. You comment on current political scenarios, issues. You have a lot of commentary on feminism and any form of discrimination based on class, caste or religion. You use dark humor and satire, and your various avatars are the neighborhood teacher who uses English language teaching as a tool. Then the Dukh Darshan, a news show covering today's events, which is the first time I discovered, which is fantastic. And the NTPC helpline, which recently you did for the IT cell, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So those are your 3 avatars. And you're otherwise a professor in real life.
Yes, I am.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, what do you teach?
I teach linguistics.
Interesting.
And joining us in the studio is Akash Banerjee, also known as the Deshbhakt. Welcome, Akash.
Only one avatar.
Only one of them.
No, there's Bhakt Banerjee also.
Which is Bhakt Banerjee. Akash is a commentator on political, developments, on society and a bunch of stuff online. But in the past, he has been a journalist, he has been an anchor, he has been a radio jockey, an author, and also a media executive working behind the scenes.
That's
Welcome,
why I'm loving the microphone right now. The industry best. So I'm just trying out my deep voice here. Hi guys, how are you? This is my radio voice. How are you?
So thank you so much for joining us, both of you. Madri is sitting somewhere where there are a lot of birds chirping. So if you wonder where suddenly this idyllic background score has come from, it hasn't been artificially inserted. It is in fact where Madri is right now, which is where?
It's Spiti. I'm in Spiti, Himachal Pradesh.
No wonder.
Oh, how
Spiti,
lovely.
Beautiful place.
Oh my God.
It is. It's wonderful. It's like I don't want to leave, but then work calls. Vacation is getting over soon, and we have to go home. So yeah.
Is that the best
But I
part?
think the voice should be a little bit less now because I closed the windows.
Oh, I thought you said I shot
Is
it.
it? Is it okay?
That's fine.
No.
But so is that the best part of being a professor, that even you get summer vacation, which other people don't?
It is actually. We get 45 days, and actually this particular vacation is more special because we haven't been getting them because the semesters haven't aligned after the COVID lockdowns, and we haven't been getting vacations. So it has been a sporadic 10 days, 12 days, or 15 days, or a week summer vacations for the past 3 years, and this is the first time in 3 years that we have a longer stretch. So we have made the most out of it and been traveling for the past month actually, like taken our car, gotten out of the house, and like no plans. Even Spiti was no plan. Like we just let's go. And after we reached here, we hear that the Manali highway has been closed
jammed.
because there was a
So
landslide.
did you
Yeah.
drive from Kinnaur side or Manali side?
Manali side?
Oh,
We
Kinnaur
after
is-
we crossed the Manali highway, I think it was just the very next day that the landslide happened. So
Shall
we
we
were very lucky.
Enjoy your holiday. At least someone's having fun.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Manisha will tell us what's happening in the country.
Also, Eid Mubarak to our listeners. We're recording
Yes.
this.
Yes.
We are recording this on
Since
Eid.
she said holiday, I realized
Yeah.
we're working on a holiday.
It is the 29th of July, Thursday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Eid Mubarak to everybody.
Eid Mubarak to everybody.
June.
June.
June. Did I say July? Damn. Okay.
Okay, so the headlines of this week: in a big mega push for a uniform civil code, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said the country cannot have separate laws for its people. He said this at a public rally in poll-bound Madhya Pradesh on Tuesday. AAP has supported this in principle, while Congress leaders like P. Chidambaram and KC Venugopal hit out saying this is a diversionary tactic. Akali Dal has pretty much come out and said that we do not support
Oppose
this.
it, yes.
And I was wondering why, because most Sikhs follow the Hindu code bill.
Yeah.
And then I realized that there is the Sikh Marriage Act is under this law called, I think it's called Adarsh something, where divorce is not an option. The Sikh personal law that guides marriage. But anyway, I think most people, if you want to divorce, you do it under the Hindu marriage bill. Anyway, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on Sunday criticized former US President Barack Obama's recent comments on minority rights in India, saying that Washington had bombed 6 Muslim-dominated countries during this regime. And TV media went completely nuts about this. Everyone was scolding Obama, from Sudhir Chaudhary to Arnab to...
No one played back
To
the
Aman.
earlier audio which we will definitely play back. My friend Barack, my friend.
Tu Tadak has
Tu
now.
Tadak.
Usually they're very happy with Israel and America for showing them their place.
And of
go
course, they
bomb.
forgot that America has bombed the hell out of many other places also.
Yeah,
and it has
it's-
nothing to do with religion. It has to do with their own interests.
कैमरे से दूर अकेले में गप मारते हैं तो हम एक दूसरे को बड़ी निकटता से जान सकते हैं। मेरी और बराक के बीच में वो दोस्ती बन गई है उस खुलेपन के कारण। हम आराम से फोन पे बात कर लेते हैं, हम आराम से गप मार लेते हैं, हंसी मजाक कर लेते हैं।
The White House on Monday slammed the online harassment of journalist Sabrina Siddiqui, who had questioned Prime Minister Modi on democracy and minority rights in India at a press conference in US last week. The White House termed it completely unacceptable.
In fact, we should talk a little about this also during this hafta.
And there's a report that came out from rights and risk analysis groups that said about 194 journalists, including 7 women journalists, were targeted across India in 2022. A series of interviews with union ministers conducted by social media influencer BeerBiceps in collaboration with MyGov raised questions this week about the government's use of public funds to finance interactions between influencers and senior government functionaries. These interviews came close on the heels of news reports that said that Union Minister Piyush Goyal met about 50 influencers, YouTube influencers.
But Akash and Dr. Medusa were not among them.
But do you know what happened
Losers, we are.
Did you
Such
get some...
losers, yeah.
Dr. Medusa, we should be
What the hell?
ashamed. We never got invited.
We never even got invited.
No, actually, our subscribers actually asked us this question, and we said we are happy to inform you that we still have our spines intact, and thankfully nobody thought it important enough to invite us. We are very, very happy. Thank you. Thankful. Our reputation is intact. Yes.
But do you have gossip on what happened in that meeting?
So whatever little we know is very clear is that just like television media, right now the government is identifying those YouTube channels it wants to co-opt. It's a very simple philosophy. What happened in television, Manisha, you've done so many shows, you know exactly the sledgehammer doesn't fall at day one. First you have the co-opting phase, and I think what is happening right now, the kind of influencers who got invited, let's move Deshbhakt aside or Dr Medusa aside, the kind of influencers who have got invited, there's a very clear line. You would never see those influencers having ever critiqued the government, questioned the government. They are the amiable ones. They are the friendlies.
Or even comment on news.
Or even when they do it in a very safe, like, it's not an outrage. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
When
It's a very balanced-wadi approach that they take.
Yeah, I mean, even balanced-wadi would have been great. I think this is the 50 friendlies, literally.
No, let's not say anything that may upset a large chunk of the online kind of zone. So that's
Yeah.
The government is absolutely in its own, right to invite whoever they think is fit. But my only fear is, and it's been discussed here on Newslaundry, on Deshbhakt, we all talk about it, that what happens in phase 2, which is your social media guidelines kicking in. I think that is when the non-friendlies
selectively are targeted.
Correct.
Sure, you can.
Correct.
Right. We'll discuss this in some detail. Post the headlines.
Tensions in Manipur continue to simmer. Rahul Gandhi was on his way to the state as we speak. His convoy was stopped by the police 20 kilometers away from Imphal, in fact. So we'll see what happens. He was supposed to be visiting refugee camps and go around the state.
So the last headline was that he's taking a chopper, but let's see if they let the chopper land.
Meanwhile, the Indian Army released a video of women protesters reportedly impeding the force's operations in Imphal 2 days after a mob of around 1,200 surrounded security forces and refused to let them take 12 men associated with an armed Meitei group in custody. In fact, a series of videos they released and saying that please do not block, and specifically saying that women protesters everywhere are kind of making it difficult for us to work. So literally they were kind of appealing to people on Twitter.
You don't see this happening. The army pleading. I mean, it's unprecedented.
Prices of tomatoes hit a high this week as the average price across the country crossed rupees 46.10 per kilogram, almost twice the rate. The highest price recorded was 122 per kilogram. So hopefully we'll see some reporters who were roaming around in the US, asking the price of vegetables. So hopefully they'll do some reporting in our desi mandis also and ask around ki tomato ke bhao kya.
Dream on.
Former J&K Chief Ministers Mehbooba Mufti and Umar Abdullah on Sunday demanded an investigation into allegations by Pulwama residents that one army personnel entered a mosque and forced them to chant Jai Shri Ram. The security forces officer in J&K has been removed from duty.
Yeah, so I think there's confirmation. It's not just an allegation that there is an acknowledgement this incident happened. That office has been sent elsewhere, but so far, the information available, no disciplinary action, such as a court inquiry or anything has been set up.
I mean, it's amazing. I did not tweet about this when I came to read this news initially, because I thought this must be fake news. This can't be our army. But then when we got confirmation that one person has quietly been transferred, then that is when I tweeted this news out. It is worrying, and the army should take very stern action to stem this rot. Otherwise, we are headed for...
Oh, wait, it's too late for that. Even till 4 years ago, you should have seen some of the army groups that I was shown by people who are still serving. Stuff that at least... when my dad was in the army, you could never think of saying that. There are people who are in charge of actually training cadets in the IMA who are on those groups, and you should see what they say. So, that train has left.
A Muslim man was beaten to death in Nashik district on suspicion of transporting beef. Mob of cow vigilantes assaulted him and his friend after spotting meat in the car. Bhim Army Chief...
And now FIR has been filed against them.
Yeah.
As in most of these cases.
Cases.
And even the meat has been sent for DNA testing.
Forensic analysis.
That's going to justify the lynching in some way.
Same Dadri. I mean,
this is the same.
This has not stopped.
The Akhlaq model has been following and only becoming more regular, I think, the frequency.
Bhim Army Chief Chandrasekhar Azad sustained minor bullet injuries after his convoy was shot at by unidentified men in Uttar Pradesh's Saharanpur last night. 17 opposition parties will fight the 2024 Lok Sabha elections together, Bihar CM and JDU Chief Nitish Kumar said on Friday after a joint meeting. So this includes a lot of people, except I think there's some trouble with AAP.
And Congress.
and Jagan's party and BRS.
BRS is hedging, I think. Now, BRS is completely hedging.
Suddenly now they were saying, actually they're also great rivals with the Congress in the state. So they can't possibly, it's tricky for them.
Yeah, the irony is that they should at least realize now that it's an existential crisis. But even at this stage, so late in the day, they can't even get together and take out a release together. Forget fighting an election together. So it's going to be complicated.
India will host the World Cup from October 5th to November 19th at 10 venues. Previous edition finalists England and New Zealand will kick off the proceedings at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad on October 5th. The big match between India and Pakistan will be played in Ahmedabad on October 15th. Tell me, is this the first time after a long time that Pakistan is coming
and
to
even
India
the
to play a
final
match
will be
with
played
us?
in Ahmedabad.
Yeah.
Finally, yes.
Yeah.
So, and
But
Mohali
in case India and Pakistan are in final, I think they'll change the venue because
They'll change the venue and Narendra Modi will open the batting.
No, I don't know about whether they'll change it, but Mohali hasn't got a single match.
Yeah.
Basically, non-BJP states. Although I think one match, even Thiruvananthapuram hasn't got a match, right?
Shashi Tharoor tweeted about it, is that
Yes.
such fine facilities are available there also. So there seems to be a pattern to this.
No,
Yeah.
of course, clearly.
Yeah.
So BCCI is.
we did a story on this.
Yeah.
Chandrasekhar Luthra.
And yeah, Pakistan coming to India for a long, long time.
Although Pakistan has said that their government has to give a go-ahead because they had requested that they'd like to play in another state and not Gujarat.
Gujarat.
Now that also becomes tricky. Why should we listen to you? So it's basically, just as well. I think the only good thing about politics entering sport is that maybe that will be the end of cricket once and for all. then true sports
And you
can
won't
take
mind
off.
it.
I would love it. Then all this talent that is wasting its time playing cricket in our country can start playing a real sport.
But it's so sad. I mean, we used to look forward to World Cup and now it's just I fear a match now, especially India-Pakistan. I'm just worried कि क्या होगा, कौन arrest होगा,
चार लोग जेल
chanting
जाएंगे.
होगी, क्या.
When I was in Bangalore that evening, there was, I would have loved to watch it, but I was flying to Bombay that day only. By the way, thank you all who came for our subscriber meet in Bangalore. It was wonderful. Almost, I think, maybe close to 200 of you attended. We got fantastic ideas, fantastic feedback. Thank you guys so much. And next time we'll have it at a bigger venue. So each of you can get one more person like some of you did. And we could convert them into subscribers. Each of you will be given a target to kidnap a few people and get them who we can convert into subscribers.
That Sahara scheme.
Like Sahara scheme. So, but...
Is this Newslaundry jihad?
And then, no, but there was a India versus Pakistan football match. And by the end of it, of course, there was major heat on the ground. India won. But there were people who were chanting Jai Shri Ram. This reminds me of, there was a time it used to really irritate me when I used to watch Inzi and all. Any question you ask him, Bismillah Rahman Rahim.
Correct.
I was like, keep Allah out of this. Let's just discuss cricket. Or in the middle of a match, they start reading namaz on the bloody ground and all.
This
and
happened in
I'm like, we are there. Yeah? I mean, Jai Shri Ram in a football ground, like what is
this
Shri Ram?
happened in Adipurush. That is the level it has sunk to. When the director was asked a few questions, he said, Jai Shri Ram, and he walked away. What? This is how religion is being exploited. Thank God that people have now at least, and Adipurush is good news, that people have realized, okay, beyond a certain point of time, you can't use the shield of religion. Thank God.
Also, how it's come to bite them in the ass, all this Om Rawat and all these guys, they were weaponizing this, happily riding that tiger. Till the tigers had come, let me get a chunk of you.
In our episode, we said there is no way on earth somebody spent 600 crore rupees and didn't realize what, I'm sorry for my French, what shit is being produced. There is no way that somebody wouldn't have said it unless until they realized, it is religion. We will book one seat for Hanuman, Bhagwan Hanuman, and people will not raise a voice.
Jai Shri Ram गाना डाल देंगे, सब खुश हो जाएंगे.
सब खुश हो जाएंगे. Anyway.
Russia witnessed the shortest armed rebellion ever in the history of all coups and armed rebellions by the Wagner Group against Kremlin on Saturday. All things are fine now. Everything is peaceful. And there will be no charges pressed against the Wagner Group.
Well, I don't know if anything's peaceful. It is possible the Wagner chief, whose name I cannot pronounce, will fall out of a window or be poisoned of food or die of food poisoning. That's highly likely.
Polonium.
And they suspect some Kremlin guys to have colluded with him.
Yeah, the Belarus president is, BBC.
Or Putin aid.
Yeah, it's a vassal state to Russia, but he talks like, because they run their country like it's their personal fiefdom. So he talks also. And then I told him, what are you doing? Are you mad? How can you? You should hear that podcast of the BBC. But one thing it has dented Putin. But I just thought there was one interesting learning from this, is that you cannot follow your own nutter
Delicious,
army
yeah.
thinking it will not turn against you at some point. So in spite of Om Rawat saying thank you to Yogi Ji, all the BJP ministers and all, and the people he was pandering to, they have only filed a complaint against him and the judge has said, please appear. So this will happen to all of you who are following idiots and insane, bigots in your army, thinking that army is going to be loyal to you throughout. And I'm just waiting to see when nutters turn towards...
The only problem is when nutters actually turn, it's just a very sad scene. It's too late in the day and there is a lot of bloodshed and a lot of casualty at that point of time. I just hope people wake up before such a Frankenstein situation actually comes about. But yeah, you're right.
What according to you is an influence? I mean, I think influence is someone who has a lot of following, but no expertise, so you pay low anything. Like because why the hell would I listen to BeerBiceps for a political interview? What social media has done is it has allowed a guy who has zero academic heft to tell Ram Guha, "Abhe chup lodu," and 100 people tweet that, and I've got more following than Ram Guha, so therefore I'm a louder voice.
Correct.
So you have to have no expertise; you just have to be famous. Andy Warhol's 15 minutes has become more than that. Madri.
Yeah. First of all, you guys started talking about who actually is an influencer, right? So I don't call myself an influencer. Some of my friends tease me कि तू तो influencer बन गई है, तेरे इतने followers हो गए, so on and so forth. But I think the whole influencer journey starts by this desire to be seen and to be taken seriously, or just fame sometimes, and then you start creating content, and then you start getting ad revenue, or you start getting collaborations which are paying you, and then you become an influencer because you literally start influencing people to buy the stuff that you are selling, even if it's an idea that you are selling or a product. So I think there is a transactional idea to the whole concept of being an influencer. So I don't call myself one because there is no transaction involved, as far as, because I comment on things which I see happening around me, which I think are important to be commented upon, and especially given today's situation where dissent is discouraged, not just discouraged but punished. I think it becomes more important. So that is what I feel an influencer is, and why I don't call myself one. And as far as the entry of government or the entry of political parties, I think already were in the whole influencer world, because we have our Pradhan Mantri as the first influencer, the influencer in chief of the country, right? So we already have that. So so politics is already there, but the government coming into the influencer scene, I think, is very, very worrisome, because
Akash,
so
thoughts?
just to take that thought forward from what Dr. Medusa is saying, is basically, if you are a satirist, any satirist in the world with any grain of satire would tell you that satire is about questioning people in power. It just amazes me how many people we have to educate to explain to them that satire is not about insulting people. It is not about pandering to the opposition. The opposition anyways does not have any ability to even, co-opt anybody. Satire is basically questioning people in power. Very, very difficult for them to understand this. But anyways, we try that. Then we go ahead and tell people is that we don't believe in the whole funda of influencer. Don't call us fan. Don't say that you are a fan of Deshbhakt. Don't say that we are an influencer. Is because, as you pointed out, can an influencer know everything and pillow his gyan? Then you are bringing an influencer down and abusing him and saying is that, acha, tum to 9 o'clock anchor ho, tumhe sab kuch pata hai. So we take great pains to tell people, A, we are not influencers. B, don't be fans. You appreciate our work, watch us work, theek hai, criticize us, that's absolutely okay. But we now have started taking pains to say that, okay, this episode has been worked with so-and-so. So you will find 2 names now in every title, not in the description box. We've started adding names in the title to show that we did not get all this gyan on our own. There has been a week of research that has gone into this script, research, writing, fact checking, and then we have brought this out. So the idea is that we take great pains. But on the other hand, you're absolutely right. if somebody is confident enough, and there is a very viral clip of BeerBiceps, and I'm just naming this guy is because that is what is selling today, is that he's explaining what is supercomputing,
quantum computing.
I mean,
I saw that.
Microorganisms will start growing inside.
So I was wondering, is
Where
that
you start
satire?
making
It's not. That's not satire.
So he actually believes that we have reached a stage where technology can create an atom out of nothing.
Yeah, and that, by the way, constitutes what a quantum computer would do.
But I think, look, this BeerBiceps phenomena is very interesting to observe. And I think more and more journalists, and especially media professionals, have to be awake and aware of what's happening here. And how did this guy, do you know how he started off? He was Tanmay Bhatt's trainer and helped him lose insane amount
of weight. Oh, so this guy was Tanmay's trainer.
And Tanmay then kind of trained him how to optimize social media as a fitness influencer. So his journey begins as this leadership coach, as this guy who'll tell you what to eat and your diet and keto.
Skin.
And then evolves into this, no better word,
Guru.
but like Joe Rogan of Desi podcast.
That's what he wants to be.
So does he actually position himself as the smartest podcast of India? Is that
I think
He does. That's his tagline. Yes.
And so it's quite fascinating to see this, essentially a fitness trainer, a health instructor turn into then now dabbling in news and now getting to talk to, the Minister of External Affairs and all that. But I think in this whole space, there are 2 or 3 things that bother me quite a bit. One is that journalists have ceded too much space, because of which a lot of these YouTubers have now become very prominent. Like one of the YouTubers, for example, who met with Piyush Goyal, Akshat Srivastava. I think when the Hindenburg thing happened, he's a financial influencer. So he'll tell you how to buy a house for 5 crore in Goa. How did I make my money? How did I stop working after 30s because I earned so much? So financial, whatever. But also I remember that during the whole Hindenburg saga, he did a really good 2-part video on what exactly that thing was. And he explained it to you like a 5-year-old. And I was wondering at that point that why is an Economic Times not doing this? Why is a Mint not doing it? Where you have credible journalists who can pass through stuff, who can read it, and whose knowledge I can trust. So journalists have left so much. We're refusing to talk to our audience. We're refusing to communicate to them whatever expertise that we have gained, because of which you've had, and I think the start was Dhruv Rathi and all, where traditional explainer journalism, basically, that's what they did. Now, I think Akash is one of the very few guys on YouTube who's very responsible. He'll always cite, he'll say morning contact.
Because he's been a journalist,
he's a journalist.
Yeah.
Newslaundry ne ye kaha. There's this couple, Abhi and New, who'll do everything again. Like they did a 3-part investigative piece on Adani and no citations whatsoever. But like millions of views, okay information, but it is just basing on stuff that Business Standard has done, Economic Times has done, Mint has done. Now my question is, why are Indian newsrooms leaving this space? It's a very important space because there's a market out there for young people or even just regular people who want to understand what's happening around them.
In an accessible way.
And they can't understand journalists. Journalists are just not, they're refusing to open their eyes to this reality.
If you see in the past 8-9 years, Modi was the only spokesperson for BJP. If you see, if anybody who has to come on TV or whether it is train inauguration, even today he goes and he's the one who does it, who flags them off. If it's a health scheme, so no minister was allowed to come on TV or give an interview. So now I think the new trend that we see now, Modi gave an interview to Akshay Kumar. So along those lines, I think these ministers have also been allowed to give those kind of interviews. They're not talking politics. Even with these YouTubers, they're not talking politics at all. They're basically talking about some information about their policies.
How do they cut mangoes?
Or their own lifestyle. Lifestyle questions.
Aam kaise khate hain?
Or just very basic questions like, what do you think about tourism in India? Yeah. Are you guys focusing on that? It's such a nothing question.
And for that, they have picked up, I think, these YouTubers who themselves, they also don't talk politics much. They're talking something else. They most of them are the blabbers. And they blab beautifully. They communicate beautifully through blabbing.
Yeah, Sohail Seth has made a living of that. If you ever focus on what he's saying, he's talking complete shit, but he says it with such confidence and such authority that you think this guy must be making sense. But if you just focus on what he's saying, it is complete nonsense.
And Abhindandan, this is going to be very risky for people who have been trying to do serious stuff, whether satire, informational stuff, is because just like today, if you try to do good journalism on television, people will laugh at you. मैं एक honest television channel चलाता हूँ, people will say what bullshit. The same discredit that came to television is now going to come. We are seeing it happen onto social media, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I think the fragmentation of audiences is the first thing that's going to happen. Where we go from there is going to be interesting. Sun liya Afrika, mufat khoron. Not to brag or anything, but Newslaundry Hafta features in the top 50 in the world on SoundCloud in the news and politics category for podcasts. So do subscribe and see what you're missing, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Subscribe, help keep news independent and free. All Newslaundry podcasts are available on iTunes and Stitcher and any other podcast platform.